To episode number 48. Carson, you look very clear today. Very, very clear compared to past
I'm
episodes.
trying. Yeah.
So anyway,
you have less cookies and you have a clearer complexion.
I think that's
almost
the key.
a dad joke.
Almost.
In fact, it's actually better than the one I've got. So I may lean on.
How many cookies does it take to get a clear video screen? Is that the dad joke? Or
there you go. Yeah. I cleared many.
Anyway,
well, I'm coming for you today with the dad joke.
I believe you. You've been getting better. See, I mean, it's almost like we could do a graph from the beginning of the show, and I was up here, and it's just I keep getting worse, and you keep getting better. So,
all right. Well, I'm Tom Burton. I'm here with Brandon Lee and Carson Heady. Bob, welcome. He looks like he's 102 in Dallas today. Is it hot up in the St. Louis area, Carson?
It's off and on. I think the heat index is like 115. So.
Oh yeah, okay, that's fine.
I'm just grateful for my home office on days like this.
Yeah.
Brandon, are you sweltering in Atlanta?
No, it's hot outside. It's like an oven. It's thick.
Hey, well, we used to call it Hot Atlanta, right? You guys still go by that?
I think it's 68 here today. So anyway.
Yeah, we're gonna unplug. Right. We're gonna unplug Tom today.
Yeah.
68 degrees and a view of the Pacific Ocean. All right, let's get going. We got good stuff to talk about today. I'm really excited. Unfortunately, but let's move on.
All right, let's get that dad joke challenge going. Carson, I think you're up first this week.
Okay, if I must. Let's see.
I want to see who's in the comments too, as Carson figures out which one of his ChatGPT jokes is going to lose to me today.
I was having a lot of trouble this morning, as I was getting kids into the car and getting ready for our morning commute. I couldn't figure out how to get the seatbelt on. Then it just clicked.
Very nice.
All right.
Very nice. All right. Well, I will throw this caveat out today. It's probably not a joke you want to actually tell kids, but your friends and your spouses might really enjoy this one. Okay. So what do you get when you cross a brown chicken and a brown cow? Ready?
Yeah.
You get brown chicken, brown cow.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, brother.
Okay. Jury's out on that one.
Yeah, I'm leaning toward
brown cow. Come on.
Although the singing part was kind of cool.
I agree. Like for style and flair.
Right. Yeah. All right.
I got it. All right. Well, I went a different road today, and
I think Paul wins. I saw a great video on frogs. It was riveting.
Much better.
Oh, Paul.
Much better, Paul.
I like it, Paul.
That's a good one. An instant classic.
Well, thank you.
Maybe we can talk about community and do a little better today.
Yeah,
I think so.
So before we do that, there may be people on here wondering where Gina is, who's supposed to be here today. Gina,
I know I was.
Yeah.
These guys called me in a panic and said that I better be prepared to bring my A game. So
that's right. So Gina has a travel conflict, so was not able to make it today. We are going to rebook her later in the year, but that's not going to stop us from talking about communities. So let's bring it on.
Let's do it.
Nothing's going to stop us now.
No one's going to stop us now. No. If anybody's still left after the dad jokes, then oh well. Oh, Brandon with the flare win. All right. Okay.
It's all about the flare.
So
there's that for a movie reference, Carson. It's all about the flare.
Hey, I'm back with a really good one today that I'm proud of. So we'll get to that in a bit.
Let's do it.
All right. So let's talk about community. So, and Carson, Brandon, I'm interested in both of you. What would you both consider? What is the definition of a community? Like when we use the word community, what does that mean to you? And I think it's, especially Carson, I think your view of it, maybe more from the enterprise, is going to be a little bit different than Brandon's from the SMBs, but let's just talk about what we mean by that.
Yeah. Brandon, why don't you lead us off?
Carson? Okay. Well, I thought about that and I went back and thinking about the By Design publishing company, my agency that I built. And we really, really focused on community there. We didn't sell. We built an $18 million company in 5 years, and we didn't sell. We built community. One of the things that I discovered, we partnered and through a sponsorship program with the Women's Council of Realtors. There about 85% of our revenue came through residential real estate, and it wasn't the intention, but this community started developing that embraced us. And so we ran with it, like where the community was that was embracing us, we kept moving into it. So through some sponsorships and then spending a lot of time with them, adding a lot of value, we had a lot of educational pieces that we gave for free. We kept getting referred to the other state community that they had, and then the regional or the local community. So the city or county communities they had, the state communities, the national community, some of the regional communities. And next thing I know, we were so ingrained in this community, and it was offering value. And yeah, we did sponsor, and we bought a lot of alcohol and stuff like that, like you do. But we were so ingrained in this community that they became our salespeople for us. Like we added so much value to them that even when we went to a trade show, we had our booth, and our customers would be in our booth, and somebody would walk by and they go, "You need to do this." Now, we had a great product. It served them well. We had like a 97% retention rate. It served them well and all that. But the community is what gave us the strength. So when I think of community, I go back to that model and know that when you show up and act like a trusted advisor, then they treat you like a trusted advisor. And it's like Anthony said a couple of weeks ago, they don't want to think about anything else. They just want you to tell them what's coming, what they need to be doing, and then help them implement it. And that's where I think the top level definition of community for me is.
Well, Carson, what's your take?
Yeah, I love that. When I think about community, I think about people that could or should be collaborating for the greater good or to enhance the sum of the parts. And that can cover a wide gamut of folks. I think about communities that, my teams and I have successfully built internally in the organizations we've been in multiple different roles that I've served over the years. I also think about communities that we proactively go out and build with our customers or with our partners, even with our competitors. I think back about a decade ago, and we were starting on this brand new role, and we were working with SMBs. And, we came across a lot of scenarios. We had a very niche role with these SMBs. And there were some of our partners and frankly, some of our competitors that were fielding things that, we would be able to help with, and vice versa. We were getting requests that they were better suited for. I've talked on this show before about how I think as we seek to earn the right to be the trusted advisor, sometimes going to or even introducing your competitor is the right move if you're looking to build credibility and you're not the solution, rather than sticking your solution down their throat. I think the key element is to say, "Hey, meet Nick over at my fiercest competitor. He'll take good care of you." That's the right solution in this case. And so I think there's a lot of different ways to build communities. So I think about communities as people that can get some mutual benefit out of helping and collaborating. I loved Brandon's thoughts as well, because as you proactively seek out communities with certain pockets of customers, the value that it brings. We had this brand new team at Microsoft almost 10 years ago in St. Louis, Missouri. It was one of 121 globally. And for 8 quarters in a row, we were number 1 in the world. Wow. And the only reason why was because we built community. We went out and we found everybody that had interacted with our team, and we enlisted them in a newsletter. We had an opt-in newsletter, and we would do events with that group, and we would broker introductions and connections, and we would bring in partners. And if I got a request for something I couldn't handle, I knew who to introduce them to every time. And so we would proactively invest in those relationships. And then by building community around what we were doing, when they'd announce a new product launch, everybody would be talking on these launch calls about asking all these questions and what if this and that. We'd be constructing our newsletter announcement that went out to our community, and we'd have more pre-orders by lunch than anybody else got before the launch of the product out of St. Louis, Missouri, our little, hometown here. So my point is this: the power of community is just exponential. And it's great for not only whatever you're working on today, but even in this day and age today, our team supports healthcare organizations, and we look every day for ways to match them together in ways that make sense in non-compete scenarios where everybody can chip in, contribute, enable, and empower everybody to be better than the sum of the parts. That's what I see as community. And the last thing I would say is, how can you build community within your own organization as well? A couple of years ago, I saw a scenario that, I always look for problems, and I've talked about this before too. I realized we had 80 managers in our business, and we weren't speaking to each other collectively. Like, we would talk to each other in pockets, but for the most part, we were on islands. And I realized, like, hey, I banded up with a couple other people and basically said, hey, wouldn't it help us if we were all talking? We're all facing a lot of the same issues and challenges. But if we spent some time together talking about how we're grappling with these unique challenges uniquely and taking best practices from each other and learning, wouldn't there be a lot of power to that? And lo and behold, there was. So I think there's opportunity for community within your own organization and your business unit, within your customer groups, and then also within their customer groups, and sometimes even with strange bedfellows like your competitors.
I think those are both of it. Those definitions are really, really spot on. And, here's what my take on it as well is, what is the most powerful lead or the best lead, right? It's word of mouth. Everybody wants word of mouth. How do I get word of mouth? Well, communities inherently have a peer-to-peer relationships within them. It's not just you to your prospects or you to your partners. It's partner to partner. It's prospect to prospect, or customer to customer. And you just said, Carson, manager to manager, right? There's peer-to-peer relationships. The word of mouth capability or the word of mouth power that comes from that is massive. And that's really the exponential hockey stick, right? That can result from creating a community, which is many to many versus one to many, which we all try and do in marketing, right? Is we take our message and try to get out to many. The other side of it, which I think we're going to talk a bit about, what is the challenge of communities, but Bob mentioned here, and I completely agree, right? Is that community is also about culture. And that's the hard part of it, right? Is how do you take and build a culture where you actually get people willing to have those peer-to-peer communications and be willing to share and collaborate and all of that. And we'll talk more about that as well. But that's one of the challenges. And yeah, I would love to hear anybody else in the audience, if what you believe is kind of a key attribute of a community, which is different to me than just, hey, I'm marketing to a target market, right? I have a target market and I'm trying to send something there.
I think, Carson, I love what you talked about in the story to demonstrate that the value and the power of community. It goes back to things we've talked about. It's a mindset. And I think that's what Bob was referring to. It's about the culture. It's a mindset. And I find that that's really the biggest obstacle. I find that let's break it down simply. People tend to be either more on the giver side or they're more on the taker side. And I think a lot of sales attracts people that tend to be in the taker side. I'm going to go make a bunch of money. And, it goes back to, and I think Anthony brought this up the other day too, with the Zig Ziglar quote. You can have everything you want in life if you just help enough people get what they want in life. And there's so much power behind that, and there's so much truth in it, but it's really, really hard for a lot of people to trust the process that's going to work, because we fall back on, what about me? And I fell into the community concept. I'll be very honest. At the time, I was like, hey, we're going to go sell. We're going to go. And as I started meeting, especially a lot of these women in the Women's Council of Realtors, they were such givers. They were so built culture. They built community. One of them was in our booth and goes, oh my gosh, I really love what you're doing. You need to meet my friends. And I said, okay. And she pulls me takes me a few aisles away and introduces me. And she goes, you need to be a part of this. Like, we need you and you need us. And I was just sitting there going like, this woman just introduced me into a whole bunch of sales opportunities. And my mindset honestly wasn't there yet. But as I was watching other people that were focused on community, I'm dumb, but I'm not that dumb. I started watching the value of it and seeing, and I'm like, I need to get in line here. And I need to start being more community oriented like they are and become a giver. And that's been a huge, huge difference in my life.
For everything we love, for everything we're passionate about, there's a potential for community. There's a silly acronym. I'm sure everybody's seen it. TEAM, team, together, everyone achieves more. But it's true. It's, the sum of the parts is going to elevate us all. And I think that's the key mentality. There's an abundance mindset element of it there. And I think that's why we've got to really be intentional about encouraging communities. Honestly, so I'm a leader in my business today, and I encourage my team to go out and meet without me, do players only type community, because you know what that does is it enables them to gel without the stigma of having the boss around. They can talk, they can collaborate, they can vent, they can get closer as a result of that time. Furthermore, I think about all the other communities that are possible, that matter, that are meaningful, whether it's within churches or within your neighborhood or within your city or where you live, anywhere you've got pride or anywhere you've got strength or superpower. I started a career network on LinkedIn several years ago. It's got over 6,000 members now, and gets hits every single day. And these are just things that you can create. There's a community for everything that you're passionate about and everything you have strength in. And I think sometimes we don't realize that. I think sometimes we have we might have the solitary woe is me thought of a George Bailey, for example, from It's a Wonderful Life. We have this wonderful tradition every Christmas Eve. We sit by the fire and we watch It's a Wonderful Life. And at the end of the movie, and I think I cry every time, whenever Harry returns to my big brother George, the richest man in town. He didn't realize it until that moment, but he had built an entire community because of the investments that he had made and the communities that he had created throughout a body of work, throughout his entire life. And I think that's extremely magical, and it speaks to the power that we have in creating, enabling, empowering, and investing in communities everywhere.
Wow. Well,
I guess he was the giver, right? Harry Bailey was the giver and Potter was the taker. Was it Potter? Was he the...
Potter was the villain. George was, Jimmy Stewart. And then when Harry returns and, a toast to my big brother, George, it's in that moment that I think you realize that it's like, he's rich, not because he's got all this money. He had obviously gotten himself into a bit of a pickle. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it. I mean, it's been around for 90 years, but the point being that he was rich because he had friends.
Yep. All right. I wanted to bring up Mark's comment here. Brandon, get your take on this. He says, my community and my customers are internal employees. I've created several Slack channels where I post content that is value to them. It creates community through interaction of sales leaders with similar interest in challenges.
Yeah. Look, there's so much in that, Mark, and thank you for sharing that. Good to see you too, my friend. I miss Mark. He's been super busy.
He's smart. He comes in late after the dad jokes.
I saw that. That was smart. Yeah. Saved him the agony. But look, there's a lot in there. Keywords in there. He shares content that is valuable. He created a channel, and it's in Slack, but it's somewhere that it's consistent, right? People like consistency. I mean, we can talk about our show a little bit later as well in the community, but it's consistent. It's in a channel. It's public within a private setting, right? So everybody can access it, which means everybody can learn together. Everybody can contribute. And it's hard. There's a lot of lurkers on the outside. They get nervous. But what it also starts to demonstrate to people is when something gets posted and other people ask questions and somebody else comments and answers a question and then asks a follow-up question, it demonstrates community, and it demonstrates for the people that are nervous on the outside looking in going, is my opinion valuable? I don't know what to say. We actually can demonstrate and show people like this is what the value of community is. It doesn't mean like the three of us sitting up here, we don't know everything. We know some things. We're willing to talk about it and we're willing to listen. And that's demonstrating that over and over again. I mean, I love Mark's heart and all the work that he's doing inside of IBM, and all of his customers are internal. And all he does is he just gives opportunities to serve. And those that are ready, and a lot of times it's timing, right? Sometimes people just aren't ready for lots of reasons. But when they're ready, when we're consistent, they know where to go and they see us as a relief. They see us as this island of hope that they can go to.
I love that. I was just thinking, when we started this show, we talked a lot about, first off, understanding the power of social selling first and foremost, and then understanding the need to create a mechanism by which to execute it. Very similar here. Understand the power of community first and foremost as a basis point, and then realize your unique ability now to not only create communities, but also join communities. The things like Brandon talks about a lot on this show about going in and commenting, such great relationships I've been able to create from a selling capacity just by going out and commenting on the posts of others. There's a real power in that. You can join the communities that you want to be a part of in this day and age now more than ever before.
Yeah. And for me, social selling and community are like one and the same, right? They're very aligned, and you can't do one without the other, right? Social gives us this medium that we can amplify the messages that we want to create. Now, some can argue like what Mark's doing with Slack, that's a version of social, right? It's a place, it's a channel, it's the medium where he's publishing the content geared toward a specific audience with the goal of helping them and allowing them plus talk to each other to chew on this, to learn, to figure out where it fits in their world. And that's what social does. And when we go back and we talk about the circle of trust, we talk about how buyer behavior has changed. We've all changed the way that we behave because of social media, because we can come into this thing for free and we can look and we can evaluate who out there is somebody that I want to, whatever the right word is, align, follow, pay attention to, engage with, learn from. It's basically, who do I want to allow into my world? And then simultaneously, who do I want to keep out of my world because their messages are they're taker oriented. They're all about them. And we have these tools. We can unfollow, we can unsubscribe, we can, hide, we can do all kinds of things. But social is the most powerful community building tool when used correctly. And unfortunately, I think there's just been a lot of self-centered experts that were selling these LinkedIn programs that helped them sell a whole bunch of stuff, but didn't actually help their customers do anything other than spend money. I'll get off that soapbox right now, but I'll very easily jump right back on it because that one pisses me off.
So you brought up, though, I think another important point here. I know we're going to talk more about how community and social selling work together, but I think, Brandon, you brought up a very interesting point, and it relates to Mark's comment about Slack. We talk a lot about LinkedIn, right? We talk about LinkedIn and everything LinkedIn, which obviously is a community, but there's a lot of other communities. Mark's example of his Slack channels are communities. If you can be in, or LinkedIn groups, as you even brought up, Carson, or Facebook group, or whatever the case may be, the same model applies. You can go in, you can comment, you can interact, you can engage, you can build healthy connections, right? It doesn't, or it can be even a live community thing, but online, and I think it's important. We get so caught up, I think, on LinkedIn sometimes that we forget there's a lot of other places out there to do that. The other thing I wanted to hit on is Bob's point here about the success of community also depends on its leadership. Low leadership ego will help a low leadership ego will help a community thrive. I think what he's saying is without all the ego, right, you can have the community thriving in that situation.
Yeah. Bob, that is so
realization. Yeah, I mean, the realization there is, look, that was the very impetus for this Coach's Corner that we put together internally within our business group of 80 plus managers. It was, look, it doesn't take food off the table for my colleague in New Jersey to take the best practice that my team created, and vice versa, where I take, this awesome collateral piece that my other colleague created and I bring it to my team. It saves everybody time. It makes the sum of the parts greater. Mark also just made a great comment in the chat. He's invited 1,000 plus IBM sales leaders to connect and follow him. He's in essence created this community, and it goes back to all the fundamental philosophies that we talk about on this show. The creating that value for other people. There is a giving element of it, and there's a lot of sales and a lot of relationships and leadership where we're giving without an expectation. We're making an investment in these relationships without expectation. It's just like making, I was on a show the other day. I was talking about this very same concept about it's relationships that beget deals. If you go in focused on getting the deal, you're very you're short-sighted. You're gonna circumvent your ability to optimize your success. You may get transactions and you may luck into some things, but you're not going to reach your maximum potential. Where we reach our maximum potential is where we're willing to invest and being able to do that free exchange of learning or training and giving, because those things. I just posted today about this, and this Anthony Iannarino gratitude challenge that we started doing a couple weeks ago changed my life. Just the way that there were two things that jumped out at me about it. One, the day that I would consider my worst day, I listed the most things that I was grateful for. What does that tell you? And the other thing was that a lot of the things because the gratitude challenge was list 3 things a day that you're grateful for, but why they happened. And as I looked at the why behind why these things happened, a lot of these things were years in the making. Things that I planted seeds with zero expectation for 3, 5, 10 years ago that could have never possibly known where they would go. But today, as I sit here, they're the things that I'm the most grateful for.
Yeah.
Wow. I'd like to do a separate show on your 2-week challenge and the whys.
Let's do it.
Because I think there's so much value in that. I've done it sporadically, but I've seen similar things as the whys to me have been more powerful than the whats on the thing. But anyway, let's not get digressed.
I'm right there with you, Carson. So I've committed to that, and I've been doing it in our Social Selling 2.0 community. And I've been a little disappointed that more people aren't in there doing it and not consistent. But the last couple of weeks of doing that, and I have felt so much more alive. Like a lot of work, a lot of stuff going on. Married, 5 kids, another one, getting off to college and all the stresses in life. But I feel lighter, and it's just being grateful for the things that are in front of us. My wife and I think I've been closer and with her over the last few weeks in a lot of ways. And it just comes from this being grateful for stuff and acknowledging that. So, but we do go on a tangent, but that's important.
I think we should do a separate show on that. Maybe we'll get Anthony back even to qualify our things there. But I also wanted to add one more piece on Bob's point about leadership, community leadership. And I think it's super important to reinforce that a community is not all about how do I go in and how do I look smart, or how do I contribute to the community. Good leadership causes the community to contribute to each other and work towards each other. And a lot of companies, and I see this a lot, back in the day, I had a company that we helped companies build online communities. This was back in the early 2010, 2011. So really early on. And one of the biggest objections we got was, well, no, I can't have my customers talking to my customers, or I can't have my prospects talking to I have to control that conversation. Right now, granted, this was early. It was probably a lot more scarier than it is now, but that leadership has to even now encourage and be willing to have those peer-to-peer conversations for the community to work. All right, what's up next? So I want to talk about how do we talk, obviously, how can we use community in the things that we talk about related to social selling and building healthy connections, and then turning those connections into qualified prospects, and how can we dovetail those two things together? Who wants to go first on that one?
Carson?
I think it goes back to thinking about all the communities that you could conceivably serve or that you could conceivably create. Who's your audience and why? So, I mean, over the years, I've created and joined and been a part of so many different communities that were based around, like, for instance, the career network that I formed years ago. I was trying to, in essence, just create this network of people that could, in essence, network and benefit from each other. I think the other element would be, looking at within all the groups that matter to you, or the passions that you have, or the strengths that you have, or maybe even the weaknesses that you have. I've realized, over the years, what I'm good at and what I'm not. And then, frankly, I think it's always important as a seller or as a professional to do a SWOT analysis of yourself. Where am I strong that could make other people better? Whether it's customers, what's the value that I bring to them, all of those things. And frankly, then adding that supporting cast around you where you can help them and they can help you. And those are where I think, you want to kind of start to think about the benefit of communities. Think about challenges, problems within your organization or within, that your audience has, and building community around that just makes everybody better. I literally have a community for everything in my life that matters. I've got a church community. I've got a community around sales and sales leadership. I've got a community around career and career advice. I've got a community around some of the work that I do around connected teamwork. And I've got a community within my own organization. And I've also got community within my partner ecosystem that we work closely with. And last but not least, and very importantly, with our customers. And frankly, it has helped me get conversations that others in my position can't get by showing up to a customer or showing up to a partner seeking to build community that would benefit them. See, I know the piece that I can play in that. And sometimes it's just being an orchestrator or a broker or an enabler of that community. But if I, from my position, can reach out to a customer executive and offer them the power to bring other customer executives that don't compete with them, but who could all benefit, guess what? I've done something very valuable there, but I don't have to be all that intelligent, thank goodness, to do that. And so I think look at where you can be a key enabler of community, whether it's building it or making it better for everyone that you seek to serve.
That's so good. That is so good, Carson. I love that. I keep thinking of this statement over and over again, and it's people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And in community and in social, we have the ability to demonstrate that we care. And that goes a long way, right? Actions are a lot more powerful than words. And as I was thinking about it, I'm going to share something. I'm going to be a little vulnerable here, but I think it's really, really important. My challenge early in my career, early in my life, to build community, because I was much more of a taker, because I didn't deal with the internal garbage in my life and not getting into the crap I dealt with in my childhood and all that stuff. But that crap had an awful hangover, and it made me more protective, and it made me more me-oriented. And that then came out in all the other areas of my life. So when I started to realize the value of community, one of the first things I had to do was go deal with my own shit. Because my own brokenness, my own ego, my own hurt, hurt people, and we put up walls faster than anybody and all that stuff that prevented me from doing it. So for anybody, if you're listening to this and it's like, oh yeah, community, but you can't quite get there because of that wall of pain and the pain, shame, and blame that we carry around in life. Man, go deal with that stuff. And I know it's hard. I know it's just really flippant and easy. I mean, I've got 10 plus years in therapy dealing with crap. But on the other side of it, it's put me in a position where I love to give. And then on the other side of that is when you start to see and experience the fact that when you give, you get. Like it's the most freeing thing in the world, and it's freaking fun, but it's if anyone out there, you're like me and you had that wall and that protective, I had to deal with that before I could do it.
That's powerful, Brandon. And, obviously I always appreciate our friendship and the things that I've learned from you of that ilk. It's been very helpful for me in my personal journey. And I think about too, when it boils down to it for me, for community, I wouldn't be remotely where I am without being a community builder.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've made no qualms about sharing on this show that, when I joined Microsoft 10 years ago, I was hat in hand. I was ready to be what they call in the NBA a sixth man and just be a contributor. I'd had a very successful career. I'd been laid off a couple of times, been really humbled, been at the bottom, took a long time to really get back on my feet and, kind of parlayed into some relationships that recruited me here. And, I was just here ready to contribute. For the first 6 months to a year, it felt like everybody around me was speaking a different language. But what I did know how to do was go out and create community, build newsletters, build lists, invite people to things, add value, and just kept doing it over and over and over. And that's how we got to be number one. That's how my reputation got to where it was that got me attracted to the next role and the next role and the next role. And I look back over a body of work, and it's amazing at every step of the game, no matter how unorthodox my style was or how unlike any other Microsoft seller or leader I was, I've always just kept at heart two things: internal community building, customer community building. And it's served me well. It's taken me beyond my wildest dreams. So I'm very thankful for community, and anybody can do it. If I can do it, anybody can.
Well, and you said something a couple minutes ago that I made a note on for myself. Is you said everything in your life that you do that's important, you have a community for. And I think I just kind of did a quick assessment, and I think it's a really smart thing to do. If there's things in your life that are maybe harder than they should be, not as fun as they should be, not as rewarding as they should be, my guess is if you take a step back, you're going to find that you haven't been or created or involved in community, and you're trying to do something on your own, and you're trying to kind of slug through it and all of that kind of. And so I was like, that's kind of a quick thing. If something's not going quite the way that you want it to do, then take a step back and go, is there a way to communitize this or make this into more of a community? So that's huge, Carson. I also think, I admire Carson about how much you get done in, it seems like, in a day, in a week, or whatever. I have a feeling that community aspect also contributes to that, right?
Yeah, it does. What's
tail.
interesting, because you put the balls in motion sometimes. I don't have to be everywhere at once. There's stuff I love doing, but, like, I've got an amazing team, and they know what to expect. And, like, if I can't make one of these episodes, I love doing them, but, you guys don't need me for these. And it's just, you play a key part, but you make everybody else look like the superstars they are too. People earn the right to be in the position that they're in. And so I think the key element, whether you're talking to a customer or whether you're talking to somebody else that you want in your community, I just want to know what looks like a win to you. And then I'm going to do everything I can to deliver that win. And guess what?
Yeah.
If you win, the community wins, whatever community that is, customer to seller, manager to manager, team to team, doesn't matter. If you build it, they will come.
Well, and related to that, I want to invite, Mark and Captain Kirk here mentioning about their gratitude. In Social Selling 2.0, the new and improved online community, new and improved anyway in terms of its look and feel, we have a gratitude challenge in there that we created based on the Anthony Iannarino show. The little video snippet we took the video snippet from the show. It's in there. So if you haven't been in there, go watch the little video snippet of Anthony and then contribute, because we'd love to hear and see. I think I think it could end up really becoming a really, really cool catalyst for a lot of other things that we're doing in the community.
I know it was quick, but Lincoln, you missed it. You just missed my Field of Dreams reference.
Oh, we did. With
that was too easy. That's why I upped the game today with It's a Wonderful Life, because Field of Dreams is too easy.
I was still enamored in your idea of the community. I missed all that. Sorry.
There you go.
So
can I bring this back to something? I don't want to be a buzzkill here, but Anthony, all-star, obviously we keep talking about him today, but he said something that's been sitting with me for 2 weeks, and I keep thinking about it. And Tom and I have talked about this quite a bit. And he gave the example with this company that they were doing 55 million in revenue. Correct my numbers. They had 4 people and they had like a 90% close rate. And he gave the example of being effective. And he said effective was the goal. And he said, if the buyer needs 90 days, we're going to give the buyer 90 days because the ultimate goal is being effective. And if you try to push it and close it in your 30-day window, which I heard you try to close it on your own timeline, what you're going to do is lose the deal. But if you let the buyer do their journey, do things at their own pace, and you stay focused on them, serving them, providing for them, even if, Carson, you said this really well, even if the outcome is, you know what, I think you should go look at my competitor, or I don't think this is the right solution for you, you become more effective. And that creates a culture and it creates a community around you that know who you are. They know your heart. They appreciate that. And I believe then it's attractive. It attracts more people. It attracts more opportunities. And I just want to make sure that we keep focused, everybody, on it's about being effective. And we could be more effective in numbers than we can on our own trying to fight our way through it. And that's the value of social and the value of community for me.
That's an amazing, astute point, Brandon. And I think what's paramount, so we've got an amazing lineup of people that are going to be coming on the show in the coming weeks and months. You know, Jeffrey Gitomer, and we're still working on Jeb Blunt and a few others. But one of them is Matt Dixon, co-author of The Challenger Sale. Mm-hmm. And right now I'm reading Jolt Effect, which is his latest. And it's unbelievable. I've been on a bunch of shows lately, so I've been talking about Jolt Effect a lot. And the impetus is this. In essence, you know, in this hybrid work world, so many of our calls are on virtual platforms as sellers. So they studied just millions of calls. And you know what it told them is that our definition of effectiveness was off. Because what we as sellers were selling to was versus status quo, versus what an organization was doing. When the reality was a lot of our customers, they're not married to status quo. The reality is they may see some great things about your solution. And there were even a lot of instances where the customer executives that they were working with indicated interest in moving forward, or even said yes verbally, but didn't ultimately move forward because ultimately the risk was too great. So the point is, in the effectiveness game, your audience, whomever they are, customers, other people you want in your community, whatever it is, you've got to be de-risking the decision for them to go all in. And I think that's the key element, is really be intentional about that. So excited that we've got Matt Dixon, Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference author, coming on in a future episode. We've got some gems coming forward, but wanted to throw that out because what you said resonated with me with what I'm working on right now with my team.
Well, and I'm working on something too that we're going to share in the next few weeks, kind of a state of the B2B world, doing some numbers and analytics and research. And there's some early data I wanted to share. I was going over with Brandon before the show. Is if you look at, what percentage of your market or what percentage of your total addressable market is usually in market, right? It's between 1% and maybe 5% if you're lucky. And we all try and go after those people that are there. But what I'm finding in my research so far and some of the stuff that we've done with our clients, if you find a prospect that's in market and you've done that through social or through community, your chances of closing that deal are double if you did it through a traditional source. I mean, a traditional source, a Google ad or a cold call, or get cold call or a cold email, and you just happen to get lucky and find somebody who's seems to be looking for what you're doing. But if you've built a healthy relationship, you've built that trusted advisor, your chance of winning that deal from the analytics and data that I'm researching is at least double. Now, talk about effectiveness, right? It's like, at the end of the day, that's what we're talking about here is sales effectiveness. That's way more effective. And I've got a lot more of that where it's coming from.
Numbers don't lie. We may need another stats show.
We may need another Moneyball show is what I think we need to do. Right. So,
well, can I piggyback on that too, Tom? Because what we've seen with customers that we've been coaching, training on social and using social from a prospecting and lead generation. The other data point that I really like is that the sales cycle goes 30% faster. Mm-hmm. Right? Talk about being effective. And we started to unpeel this because I wanted to know why. Like, I thought I got it, like it made sense, but I wanted to know why. And it was because of the social activity, the demonstration of a thought leader or a trusted advisor, the consistency of sharing that type of content. There was a trust and there was a respect there. And we keep talking about sales. I mean, Larry brought it up a lot, is that the reputation of sales is in the toilet right now. And so we're totally different. We're seen totally different than the rest of them because of those outward activities, those social, those giving activities of content. And what happens is through that trust and that respect, they move quicker. Now, Tom, what you're saying is now we've got a data point that says it's twice as likely to close in a win.
Right.
But it's also 30% faster. You reduce the ghosting. Right. Because the way in which they encountered you and that respect and that trust, they don't feel the need to just back off and not respond and go away. That is so effective and speaks to the power of just consistently using social for those outward motions and giving into your community.
Well, and the reason that the close rate and the velocity is faster to a large degree is, to your point, Carson, it appears to the company you're working with that you're de-risking the decision, right? You're a trusting person that you know that, hey, most people know that not every decision is going to go perfect, or the implementation or the project or whatever, but who are they going to trust and where are they going to reduce the risk? Mm-hmm. And the other thing related to your point on velocity, Brandon, which is really important. The other thing that we see is that obviously if velocity speeds up, close rate goes up, right? Time is never your friend. Time adding longer and longer time generally doesn't increase your close ratio. So by getting things done faster, it inherently gives a boost to that close ratio as well. But both of those together are huge effectiveness points. Yeah. And again, go back to the whole point of community.
Everything you do, whether it's trying to get the meeting,
right,
whether it's trying to earn the second meeting, which I know Anthony talks so much about the value of that and having C-level acumen, and advancing things through the sales cycle. Agreeing to milestones, doing a needs analysis, going to pilot, and ultimately closing a deal. All of those things, you've got to make them the heart of what you're doing, and you've got to understand it. And sometimes calling it right out. Tell me what do you foresee as the biggest risks here for your organization? Mm-hmm. Right now, I can get literally any executive meeting I want, and it's basically because I show up with how can I help their bottom line, but also how can I uniquely build a community with you as a focal point? Who wouldn't take that meeting? But that's the thing. Most people aren't reaching out like that. You're reaching out and prospecting amidst a sea of thousands of people that are doing the exact opposite of that are doing what Larry Levine talks about, that put our reputation in the toilet. But if you show up acting like a trusted partner, investing, giving that free knowledge, and putting your customer as the focal point, understanding what's a win to them, and then doing everything you can to deliver the win, you're going to win.
Yep. And that is social selling 2.0, the next generation. So,
the next generation.
Well, this has been great. I'm going to send this to Gina and have her listen to this episode. I think she'll appreciate it. But
we missed you, Gina. But yeah, we
did.
Thoughts.
Totally understand, though, because we're a community of givers. We totally understand that she had to go serve a client and take care of it and do what she needed to do.
That's right.
And if you haven't joined Social Selling 2.0, please do so. We're going to be doing more and more to build that up and create that and get that going. I think we have a few hundred people in there now, which is great. So we're really working on getting more activity and more, just making it more fun all the way around.
And Tom, I think, let's use the opportunity just quickly here too, is some of the things that we've learned with the 2.0 and the blueprint and working with community is that what we've been offering our customers has been perceived as very, very valuable, but there's also the risk, to Carson's point, that coaching and training is scary because they still got to show up and do the work.
Yep.
And so we've heard, we've listened, and we've created a new done for you program that I think takes away a lot of the risk. It takes away a lot of the time need. But we've got a done for you program now where we will, and it obviously you've heard us enough, totally different than all the, hey, LinkedIn lead generation. We're about thought leadership and lead creation. We're going in and doing the things that we talk about. We're commenting on your behalf. We're showing up into those conversations. We're representing you in front of your prospects. We're building community for you on your behalf with your LinkedIn account, because we know it's hard and you don't have time. And as much as I know a lot of people say, yeah, I know I should be doing this, I want to do it, I just need to find time. We've tried to take that risk away by saying, let us just come alongside you, partner with you, and let us and our team do it for you.
Yeah,
And it's getting, oh, go ahead, Carson.
No, please.
No, I was just going to say, it's getting some really good feedback. And I think I didn't realize until you said earlier, Carson, but I really think one of the reasons the feedback we're getting is so positive, it does reduce the risk. And let's face it, most organizations are not sitting around with looking for things to do.
No,
so
frankly, it enables them to build a community around an area where I think they know they need to get better. I want to highlight Bob's comment real quick. Couple of quick thoughts on this. Showing sellers how to coach their prospects when deals stall is something almost no companies do. I want to put a bulletin out there to all sales leaders. So much of setting the tone and creating the culture for what you claim to want rests squarely on your shoulders. You've got to make sure that your teams understand the value of how to do it all right. My team is the WD-40 of getting deals unstalled. Works every time. And you know why? Because at every stage of the game, we understand exactly what looks like a win to the customer, what's the risk involved. And so when we're getting a deal unstalled, if a deal stalls or somebody's been ghosting us, we know exactly how to rekindle that conversation based on their exact words, what they've told us before, or going to those other influencers that we've already created a relationship with because of that groundswell of influence that we work to create in every organization. Often sellers put themselves behind the 8 ball. They put themselves behind the 8 ball by not having enough relationships, not building a big enough community within their customer organizations, and frankly, by not doing the right things to be at the pulse of what matters to their customers. So, Bob, I couldn't agree more, because I think sales culture is set by leadership. That's why leaders are the ones that have to set the tone for all of this, or it doesn't work.
And I don't know, Bob and Mark, which feeds you're on, so you guys may not even be seeing each other's comments. So if you're not, Bob Britton, Mark Clausen, you two should meet and have those conversations. Because Bob, what you just said, Mark is doing that and doing it exceptionally well. He's a lot of hard work and very busy, but that is his role, and he's a great demonstration of that, or example of that.
I love the WD-40 analogy.
Yeah.
I think Mark should be Mr. WD-40, because that's
I'm going to expect a new banner profile picture from Mark tomorrow with a big can of WD-40.
That's right.
Well, hey, and you know what, Carson, I just want to repeat again, you teach me so much. I love not just your heart behind everything, but you throw out things that I'm always jotting down notes on the show. I learned so much from you, and thank you for leading that way, but also sharing all of that, because these are little gold nuggets. And we've talked about this before, like gold nuggets, a little tiny thing you can pick up and put in your pocket with a ton of value. And Carson just kind of drops nuggets every time he opens his mouth. So thank you for that, Carson.
I feel the same way about you, my friend. I'm like the Hansel and Gretel of sellers. I'll leave some crumbs for everybody to follow based on my scars and my battle wounds and all my lost deals. You guys can learn and see around corners better, because I already went down the path and got my face kicked in. So
That's it.
All right. Well, thanks everybody who participated today. Great show. Next week we have Mick Adams. Is that right, Brandon?
Wow.
And then the week after, it's our 50th anniversary. And we have the king of social selling, Daniel Disney, with us coming up. So that's going to be a not miss as well.
Yeah, I can't say enough about just the amazingness of this audience and the caliber of all of our guests that we've had since day one. This has been an amazing ride. Thanks for making us #1 social selling podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week. And Carson?
Until next time, everyone, happy social selling.